Hi everyone, I'm Carol Anne Riddell and welcome to Arts in the City. First up today, we head to the Guggenheim Museum. Our Susan Jhun takes us inside a new exhibit that examines groundbreaking historical art from South Korea.
A wide array of art forms, using a myriad of mediums, creates a window into the fascinating work of young South Korean artists in the 60s. At the Guggenheim's current exhibition showcasing a body of avant-garde work known as Korean experimental art.
So this exhibition, Only the Young, Experimental Art in Korea, 1960s to 70s, is the first exhibition by a North American art institution that focuses on this kind of amazing period in Korean art history, looking at young artists who came of age in the decades following the Korean War.
This groundbreaking artwork is a reflection of the changing social and political landscape in South Korea in the 1960s.
This was a time of remarkable transformation in South Korea. We're talking economically, but also politically as well. So President Park Chung-hee comes into power with a coup d'etat in 1961 and then is elected president in 1963. Until he is assassinated in 1979, he slowly establishes an authoritarian regime. So the artists are responding to these kind of changes that are happening. But during this time, there's rapid modernization, rapid urbanization, so many changes that are happening in Korea that not only impacts the artist's practice, but their sense of self as well.
Curator Carol Anne says you can see that reflected in the choice of materials the artists use.
There are some artists who turn to neon lights, which was starting to light up the night skies of the city of Seoul that they're seeing in cafes and bars and restaurants. Same as barbed wire, a work by Ha Jung-hyun in the Guggenheim collection uses barbed wire over jute, which is kind of this rough material. And barbed wire would have been a very familiar material to many Koreans living in Seoul, where it would have adorned the military barracks of the US Army that was so present in Korea at the time.
Along with new materials came new methods of expression like performance art and installations, art forms that use the body in a way that Korean artists had never done before and were completely different from the academic approach to traditional painting and sculpture of the 50s.
These experimental artists in the 60s and 70s, they no longer believe that informal, it represents the urgency that they want to embody in their practice, and starts rejecting that and start looking for something new. So what are they searching for? They're searching for new materials, new processes, and they look to not only their surroundings, but also to new visual languages that are being introduced through the wide circulation of print media, art that's happening outside Korea, in Europe, in America, in Japan. They're looking and gleaning those kind of new languages, but then digesting it and making it their own.
The exhibition, which is a collaboration with the National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art in Korea, includes 80 works from 28 artists, works that reflect on a changing Korea.
Kyung's An Upside-Down Map of the World, which is a map of the world in '74. It's a very interesting way to think about how artists were thinking about their own disposition within a global context. Another important work is Chung Kang-ja's Kiss Me, an amazing sculpture by a woman artist, almost kind of garishly painted pair of lips, very huge. And then there's these clenched teeth in between these lips, and the teeth are holding a severed head of a woman and a domestic use rubber glove that you often associate with, let's say, washing dishes. The fact that the artist is thinking about this kind of, contradiction that women at the time faced, to be a good mother, to be a good wife, to be a good daughter, these Confucian ideals, but then at the same time grappling with this kind of more modernizing, sense of identity.
We'll begin.
As a special part of the exhibition, some of the artists still living are taking part in a performance series, like Lee Kyung, who came from Korea to perform his work called Snail Scallop. This innovative and provocative art of a generation will be on view at the Guggenheim until January 7th. For Arts in the City, I'm Susan Jhun.
Now to another museum as we mark Native American Heritage Month. The American Museum of Natural History is probably best known as the city's home to dinosaurs, but its cultural treasures include an unrivaled collection of indigenous art from the Northwest Coast. Andrew Falzon has more.
The Northwest Coast Hall stands as a tribute to the generations of history it contains, showcasing the creativity, scholarship, and experiences of the living indigenous cultures of the Pacific Northwest. It's the museum's oldest gallery, which in 1899 became home to its first permanent exhibit dedicated to the interpretation of cultures. More than 120 years later, the hall has been fully revitalized by a team of 9 consulting curators representing 9 indigenous communities of the Pacific Northwest, plus co-curator Hayups of the Nuchanul and Peter Whiteley, curating for the American Museum of Natural History.
So the pieces themselves are amazing. This is arguably the best collection of Northwest Coast material culture in the world. I'm an anthropologist. I think it's super important to tell the stories of many different cultures around the world.
And perhaps there's no better place in New York City to learn about indigenous cultures with over 1,000 cultural items in over 50 display cases.
We increasingly live in a homogeneous world with homogeneous senses of what cultural meanings are supposed to be about. These are different from what your average New Yorker or people from many, many other places are going to be used to. This will open their eyes into a different form of cultural understanding, that there are persistent peoples in this part of the world that still imagine themselves differently because of where they live, because of their histories, because of their cultural ideas.
And no detail in the room was overlooked. Many of the cases provide a 360-degree view of the item, like this sculpture called Whaler's Wife. The blue background seems to be the perfect blend of sea and sky, and there are small items like this shaman's charm from the Gitsan, and large traditional carvings that stand up to 17 feet tall, but totem poles they are not.
Totem is an Anishinaabe word from the Great Lakes, and it refers in general to a guardian spirit, to an individual's guardian spirit. So the colonial society sort of adopted that term, and as they moved west, well, everything that looked like something they didn't understand was a totem. So then it became applied to the poles. Nowadays we refer to them as monumental carvings or monumental poles. And Native people are so used to the idea of them being referred to as totem poles that they don't particularly like it, but it's not that big of a deal, I think, for many people. But yeah, we're trying to shift the discourse into something that's more in line with the indigenous perspectives themselves.
In addition to the towering monumental carvings, the 10,200 square foot room has a series of alcoves which help organize the exhibit, but also pay homage to its original design. The alcoves were designed as part of the original hall dating back to 1899, part of the original vision and legacy of famed anthropologist and American Museum of Natural History curator Franz Boas.
Previously, each one was a cul-de-sac, but now you can go on both sides and through the cases and weave your way among them in different ways. And that was to show the interconnections among the cultures.
And the centerpiece that connects the entire room is the Great Canoe. At 63 feet long, it came to natural history in 1883, and in 1895 was suspended above the original exhibit. It was lowered to the floor in 1910 and then moved in 1960 out to the Grand Gallery at the 77th Street entrance.
But there had long been a desire to reunite it with the rest of the collection, and this presented us with a golden opportunity to do that.
My understanding of the canoe, if I remember correctly, is that it's not just a piece of indigenous art, it was also meant to be a functioning boat. It could actually go out on the water.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it would have carried a lot of people, at least 40 and maybe more, and it would have carried people, you know, going from an island to the mainland for a potlatch ceremony, a big ceremony in which many, many goods were given away.
But for now, the canoe and the thousands of treasures that surround it will carry not the indigenous people of the Pacific Northwest coast, but their stories and traditions. I'm Andrew Falzon for Arts in the City.
From its cinematic streets to its legendary movie studios, New York City has a long history with film and television. Neil Rosen stopped by the Museum of the Moving Image to learn more.
In the heart of Astoria, Queens, is the only museum in the United States that's devoted exclusively to the history, art, and technology of film, television, and digital media. It's called the Museum of the Moving Image, and it's right next door to Kaufman Astoria Studios, which has one of the largest sound stages on the East Coast, and it's where many iconic movies have been made for over 100 years, all the way back to the silent era. And the museum has evolved tremendously since it first opened its doors in the 1980s. I recently toured this wondrous world-class museum and spoke with its executive director, Aziz Isham.
The moving image is in everything now. It's in how we communicate. It's in how we are educated. It's in how we are entertained. And I think that that's really cool, is just looking at how technology has transformed the way that we tell stories.
As you tour the museum, there are both permanent and special exhibits. For film and TV history buffs, you can get a look at the history of both mediums. On display, you can see the evolution of TV and film cameras with actual artifacts on display. The same goes for audio equipment. The origins of film in its primitive stages are also here in person to behold, like the zoetrope, an early device that showed movement by spinning a cylinder and looking through vertical slits. There's hands-on Nickelodeons, where you can watch how people used to watch short movies by depositing 5 cents and then turning a crank. This was, of course, before there were movie theaters with large screens. And talk about full circle. Today, of course, practically everyone has a cell phone where people can watch movies on its small screen, and it also has a high-end camera capable of making movies.
Everyone has a camera. I think media literacy has always been a big part of what we do here in the museum. We have over 50,000 school children coming through every year. Every time someone comes and visits the museum, they're really transformed, and they become more versed in the art and the science and all the different ways to make a film and to tell a film and to tell a story in films and images and sounds. And I think that's cool.
While at the museum, there's lots of things to explore. There's the actual makeup that was used on the stars of the hit show Sex and the City, many miniature models from popular movies that look life-size on the big screen, and how makeup artists take molds of actors' faces so they can age them or completely transform them on screen. For example, here's Robin Williams' face molds from the movie Mrs. Doubtfire. There's also lots of props for movies, some that many filmgoers will be very familiar with. Throughout many decades, there's been many movies that have been filmed on location right on the streets of Queens. If you want to see the original movie posters from those films, they're on display here at the museum in an exhibit called Queens on Screen.
We've got some great exhibits right now. We have some incredible digital art. We have a live hologram on display. We have a Red Groom's commission of an old Hollywood theater that's really fun to check out. We've got a collection of fan magazines. We've got a collection of Star Wars toys. One of my favorite pieces is the original set piece from the movie Blade Runner. There's a collection of old studio Hollywood black and whites. One of our most popular exhibits is always the Jim Henson exhibition. It really is an opportunity to see, Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy and the Muppets, and as well as all of the Fraggle Rock, the Dark Crystal, all of that material in a museum setting, and it's really a special place. It's hugely important that not only is this museum interactive, which it very much is, but it's also collaborative. It's got tons of stations where people are not just making stuff by themselves, but they're making stuff with other people. And everyone is collaborating and colliding and creating, you know, a short film or a puppet show or a stop motion animation.
It's all happening here in Queens, and admission is free at this museum on Thursdays from 2 to 6, so get on over here. At the Museum of the Moving Image in Astoria, Queens, I'm Neil Rosen for Arts in the City.
Regina Resnik was a world-famous opera singer whose story began right here in New York City. An exhibition now at the New York Public Library for the Performing Arts chronicles her incredible career. As an international opera star, Regina Resnik dazzled on stages across the world, but her heart belonged to New York City. Born in the Bronx in 1922 and educated at Hunter College, her career spanned decades. She sang fluently in 6 languages. For her son, Michael Philip Davis, wandering through this exhibition about his mother's life is nothing short of magical.
It's like walking in a dream, Carol Anne. I mean, on the one hand, it's sort of like a kid in a candy shop in a way, because there are things here I've never even seen.
The exhibit at the New York Public Library for the Performing Arts is drawn from Resnik's personal archive. It paints a portrait of a widely versatile artist, a woman who seemed to embrace life's many chapters, from leading lady glamour to the simple joys of parenting.
The thing I tried to illustrate by the selection of materials is that Regina Resnik was really adaptable. She not only undertook many roles which require many different characterizations, many different temperaments, but she also really went through many stages of her career, from soprano to mezzo-soprano, from singer to opera director, from opera singer to participant in musical theater, being the head of a union, working for the union, teaching master classes, even doing a little bit of drawing and sketching. As an opera fan, and actually who saw Regina Resnik multiple times early in my opera-going career, it was like, I can't believe I have the opportunity to go through this singer's personal papers. It was an amazing reward.
Resnik's career skyrocketed in the 1940s after she stepped in last minute for a performance at the Met. Leading roles, international travel, and fame followed. But her son explains she never forgot her roots and found time for passions even beyond singing.
I told you before that she was a regular kid, and she liked to go out and have eggs and toast after a show. But something you really might not know is that she was a very avid avocational archaeologist and geologist. And she often said, if I didn't go into singing, I would have gone into archaeology.
What we also see is a life dedicated to others.
What's amazing about it is not only did she succeed, but then she wasn't one of these people that said, hey, I got mine. She did everything she could to help lift up other people through teaching, mentorship, charity work. And so that part of the story was really inspiring for me.
The exhibit, Regina Resnik, a New York treasure, is on view through February 10th. You think she'd love this?
I do. I do. And I don't think she'd call me up at 12 midnight and say, you know, I would have done this differently, which she usually did. But she wouldn't do that here. She'd be thrilled.
She is a Queens native and Hunter College grad. Comedian Lissa Lenis is making the rounds on the comedy scene and getting plenty of laughs. She sat down with our Isabel Ortiz to talk about the serious side of funny business.
New York City-based comedian Lissa Lenis caught the entertainment bug early and combined with a bit of rebellion, comedy seemed to be a natural fit.
My parents put me in jazz, right? I have no rhythm to this day. Next to our jazz studio was an improv for kids. So I would always, I would never be in that jazz class. I would be in the hallway looking into that improv class. And my dad one day came back before the class was over, and he saw that I was never in that class. And he's like, I'm paying so much money for you to go to jazz class, and you're sitting in the hallway looking into another classroom. And my dad was like, we're gonna sign you up for that. I went up to my dad and I was like, hey Dad, I'm not feeling like myself. I'm very depressed. I'm gonna go to therapy. My dad looked me in my eye and he goes, wow, that's crazy.
Telling a joke may come easily to some, but Lissa explains that there isn't quite a formula for funny, and with the added pressure of cancel culture, comedians more than ever have to walk the line between controversy and comedy.
Because of cancel cultures, I've seen comedians not write material because they fear they'll be canceled. The good is you see older comics, tightening up that skill set, working on new material that isn't crass and rude. And you see younger comics learning that sharpening that pen is what works.
Men are estimated to make up 89% of stand-up comics. Wanting to make a change, Lissa plans to break into the boys club one laugh at a time.
Everything is male-dominated, not just comedy. I go on that stage and I wow that audience. That's my duty. I have to break that stereotype of women aren't funny. All they have are period jokes and they talk about bras. And that's it. And it's not true. And I've recently lost 195 pounds. Thank you. Yeah, I got to a point in my life where I was like keto or Coke. And turns out keto's very expensive. And that is my job as a comedian, right? Is to make you laugh. But more importantly, I'm telling my story on that stage. And I don't need a man to tell my story.
Staying true to her New York roots, Lissa has gone on to co-create and produce the comedy showcase Bodega Kids, focusing on supporting young comics and using the stage to promote representation in the industry.
Bodega Kids Comedy is a showcase that brings out the best Black, Brown, and Latino comics in New York City. My goal was to have a representation I never had growing up, but also have my audience be reflected on that stage.
In the eyes of comedian Lissa Lenis, success isn't quite about the endpoint, but really enjoying the journey and embracing the opportunities along the way.
To this day, I don't know what my endpoint is. Because as every comedian wants a special, but I'm more than just a comedy special. And if you go to therapy, you know that they give you a little bit of homework at the end of every session, right? She was like, hey, you're doing great, doing fantastic. I'm happy that you're working on yourself and you're coming to therapy. Downfall, you have something called borderline personality disorder. I was like, wow, that's crazy. I know I'm doing something right in my career when I get off stage and I see somebody that looks like me and goes, thank you.
I'm Isabel Ortiz for Arts in the City.
It's that time of year, and there is no better place to enjoy the holidays than right here at home. Donna Hanover has a roundup of what you can do and see to celebrate the season.
The holiday season is upon us, and with it, lots of festive sights and sounds. The Holiday Train Show at the New York Botanical Garden is terrific. Model trains chug and whistle past nearly 200 scaled famous landmarks like the Brooklyn Bridge, the Apollo Theater, and the Statue of Liberty. In a recent development, there are now trains outside the conservatory and a glorious light display called NYBG Glow. For people 21 and over, bar car nights offer model train fun and curated cocktails. Brooklyn Botanic Garden also gets in the holiday mood with its Lightscape display, winding along a mile-long trail that is paved, accessible, well-marked, and gorgeous. In Midtown Manhattan, starting right before Thanksgiving, the free Saks Fifth Avenue Holiday Light Show is projected annually onto the front of the flagship store. Last year, 600,000 lights synced up perfectly with music in a show that lasted about 4 minutes and repeated several times each hour. This year, the fashion house Dior is helping design the light show, as well as the Saks holiday windows. Across the way is the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree, which will sparkle starting November 29th with its 50,000 LED lights. People come to see it from near and far, maybe even from the North Pole. For those celebrating Hanukkah, the largest menorahs in New York can be found at Grand Army Plaza in Manhattan and Grand Army Plaza in Brooklyn, and they are impressive at 32 feet high. It's nice to get warm inside and still see holiday decorations like you can on Manhattan's West Side at Hudson Yards. They use 2 million lights. One creation that has sent hearts soaring is the hot air balloon more than 30 feet high as the centerpiece of the Great Room. Enthusiastic home decorators in the region aren't to be outdone, famously adding to our holiday cheer with awesome displays at their houses in Dyker Heights, Brooklyn, as well as other neighborhoods. Performances that celebrate the holidays include the Rockettes at Radio City Music Hall, running through January 1st. Their Toy Soldiers are a special hit, and their kick line is always brilliant. Cirque du Soleil is coming back this year with its holiday-themed show, 'Twas the Night Before, full of amazing acrobatics at Madison Square Garden. The New York City Ballet thrills people each year with George Balanchine's The Nutcracker. From the March of the Toy Soldiers to the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, this is a classic crowd pleaser at Lincoln Center. Open-air holiday markets are a great place to buy gifts and treats and soak up holiday spirit. One of the most lively is here at Bryant Park, where they have more than 200 colorful shops. There's also a free ice skating rink where you can rent skates or bring your own. If choral music is your holiday joy, the Queens College Choral Society has previously performed Handel's Messiah, but this year they'll do his coronation anthems and also The Ballad of the Brown King, written by Margaret Bonds with text by Langston Hughes. It tells the nativity tale from the view of the African king Balthasar. That's happening on Saturday, December 16th. There will be celebrations across the region for Kwanzaa, which runs from December 26th through January 1st and honors people of African descent. The Apollo Theater in Harlem has 2 shows on December 30th, anchored by the Forces of Nature Dance Theater, celebrating the joy and unity of Kwanzaa. Lots of different holidays get a salute for drivers to enjoy in Westchester as the Mario Cuomo Bridge crossing the Hudson River lights up for Hanukkah, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, Kwanzaa, and New Year's Eve. Another experience that's awesome, the Bronx Zoo Holiday Lights. Instead of the animals you visit during the day, there are short trails with animal lanterns showing creatures from Africa, Asia, Latin America, North America, forests, and ocean life. My family, including 2 of my grandsons, Theo and Baxter, loved it last year. So get your tickets, put on your hat and gloves, and enjoy all the festivities. I'm Donna Hanover, and we at CUNY TV and Arts in the City wish you happy holidays.
That is our show for today. Thanks so much for watching. A quick reminder to check us out on social media. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Carol Anne Riddell. We'll see you next time on Arts in the City. In the meantime, enjoy your holiday season.